Picture this: a tribe of warriors, fierce, skilled, unstoppable in battle. They ride horses at full gallop while firing arrows with deadly precision. They conquer cities, they defeat armies. They are the stuff of legends. And they are all women. No men live among them, no husbands, no fathers, no sons. This is the Amazon tribe, one of the most enduring legends of the ancient world. For over 3,000 years, storytellers have been captivated by these female warriors who lived without males. But here's the question that has puzzled historians, mythologists, and curious minds for millennia. If there were no men, how did they reproduce? The answer takes us from Greek mythology to archaeological discoveries to the frontiers of biology, and it's far stranger than you might expect. Let's begin. The Amazons first appear in Greek mythology as early as Homer's Iliad, written around the 8th century BCE. They were described as a nation of female warriors, descendants of Ares, the god of war. Their queen, Hippolyta, possessed a magical girdle that Heracles was tasked with stealing as one of his 12 labors. Theseus, the legendary king of Athens, allegedly kidnapped an Amazon queen. The Greeks fought wars against them, the famous Amazonomacy, depicted on temples and pottery across the ancient world. But here's what made the Amazons truly remarkable. Their society was closed to men. They raised only their daughters. They lived, fought, and governed without male presence. So how did they keep their population going? The ancient sources give us several answers, and they're all fascinating. According to the Greek historian Strabo, writing in the 1st century BCE, the Amazons didn't live entirely without men. Instead, they had an arrangement with a neighboring all-male tribe called the Gargareans. Once a year, the Amazons and the Gargareans would meet in the mountains for a mating ceremony. The specifics are vague in the ancient sources, but the outcome was clear. After the encounter, the Amazons would return home. If they gave birth to daughters, they kept them and raised them as Amazons. If they gave birth to sons, they sent them back to the Gargareans to be raised. This arrangement allowed both tribes to maintain their single-sex composition while ensuring reproduction. Think about what this implies. Two tribes, one all-female, one all-male, cooperating for survival. A once-a-year meeting. A pragmatic approach to reproduction that stripped away the romantic and social aspects of family life. It's a system that seems almost designed to maximize military efficiency. But did it actually happen? Or was this just a story the Greeks told to explain how an all-female tribe could exist? Other ancient sources suggest a darker possibility. Some accounts claim that the Amazons would raid neighboring tribes and capture men for breeding purposes. These men would be used and then either released or, in some versions, killed. This version of the story paints the Amazons as far more aggressive and ruthless. It fits with their portrayal as fearsome warriors who struck terror into the hearts of Greek armies. But it also raises questions. Would a society built on such violence be sustainable? And what does it say about how the Greeks viewed powerful women? The truth is, we don't know which version, if either, is accurate. The Amazons may never have existed as a single-sex society at all, but the fact that the Greeks told these stories and that they needed to explain reproduction tells us something important. They took the idea of an all-female tribe seriously enough to work out the logistics. Now we enter the realm of biology. What if the Amazons didn't need men at all? Parthenogenesis, from the Greek words parthenos, virgin, and genesis, creation, is a form of asexual reproduction where females produce offspring without fertilization. It occurs in nature across many species. Certain lizards, sharks, birds, and insects can reproduce this way. In some species, it's the norm. In others, it's a rare backup when males aren't available. Could humans do this? The short answer is no. At least, not naturally. Mammals, including humans, have never been observed to reproduce through parthenogenesis in the wild. Our reproductive biology requires genetic contribution from both male and female. But here's where it gets interesting. In laboratory settings, scientists have successfully induced parthenogenesis in mice and other mammals. The offspring were always female, because without a Y chromosome from a male, only XX females can be produced. So theoretically, an all-female society that had mastered some form of parthenogenesis would produce only daughters. The Amazons in this scenario would be a self-sustaining female-only population. Is this what the ancient myths were hinting at? Probably not. The Greeks had no knowledge of modern genetics. But the coincidence is striking. A legendary all-female tribe producing only daughters, matching what parthenogenesis would actually produce. For centuries, scholars assumed the Amazons were pure myth. But in the last few decades, archaeology has changed that view. Excavations across the steppes of Russia, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan have uncovered hundreds of burial sites from the Scythian culture, a nomadic people who lived around the Black Sea between 900 BCE and 200 CE. These were the people the Greeks called barbarians, and among them, archaeologists found something remarkable. Women buried with weapons, not just a few. A significant percentage of Scythian female burials contained bows, arrows, spears, and armor. Some showed battle injuries. These weren't ceremonial graves for princesses. These were warriors. Herodotus, the 5th century BCE Greek historian, had written about the Amazons as real people. He claimed they were Scythian women who had intermarried with Scythian men and formed a separate tribe. Modern archaeology suggests he wasn't entirely wrong. But here's the crucial point. These Scythian warrior women were not part of an all-female tribe. They lived alongside men. They had families. They were warriors within a mixed society. The all-female Amazon tribe of legend may have been an exaggeration, a Greek fascination with the idea of women living without men projected onto the real warrior women they encountered. So the Amazons, as an all-female tribe, probably never existed. But the myth has lasted for 3,000 years. Why? Because it speaks to something deep in human imagination, a society where women are not defined by their relationships to men, where they are warriors, leaders, and creators of their own destiny, where reproduction is a choice, not a necessity imposed by biology. The Greeks were fascinated and terrified by this idea. Their stories about the Amazons, whether defeated by heroes like Heracles and Theseus or allied with them, were always about the relationship between men and women, power and independence, and the question of reproduction. That question cuts to the heart of what it means to be human. We are a species that reproduces sexually. Our biology ties us together. An all-female tribe challenges that fundamental reality. That's why we keep asking, how did they do it? The real answer is that they didn't, because they never existed in the form the Greeks described. But the legend persists because it represents something powerful, the possibility of a world where women don't need men to survive, to thrive, to fight, to rule. The Scythian warrior women were real, the Amazons were myth. But both tell us something important about history, about gender, and about the stories we tell to make sense of our world. And perhaps that's the most interesting answer of all. Sometimes the question matters more than the reality. Sometimes a myth reveals more truth than a fact. Thanks for watching. If this journey through mythology, archaeology, and biology opened your mind, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the mysteries of history. I want to hear from you. Do you think an all-female society could ever exist? What would it look like? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, the line between myth and reality is never as clear as we think.